Okay, I'm running a little late here. I'm going to have to turn Aura on as we're going here because I didn't have Aura on. So I'll see if I can do this real quick. Turn Aura on. How? I'm going to take my shirt off, show the guns. No.
That's unexpected.
Okay.
Everything okay?
No, I'm good. You turned on quickly. Faster than expected. Okay. Okay, so now we're gonna go, let me do the quick tuning thing. Alright, Alright, so now I'm gonna noodle around for the warm-up. I've been thinking about these two. I was gonna try to just mold this over for the warm-up, maybe. Which isn't exactly a warm-up. But I was like thinking, like, if I'm like if I'm going back and forth between the Dorian, from the D minor. So if I'm on like D minor, so this is the collection of notes for D minor, right? Or is that right? No, this is collection for D major. What was I doing? I forgot what I was doing. Now, hold on a second, because I was going back. So I wanted a D minor there, so that would be this one, D Aeolian, which is an F, right? Okay. Right. Which is an F major. Okay, so I was doing that because I like just walking this back in the minor. So I can go like this to this one to the open string, to this one to the open string, to this one to the open string, always playing off of this open D here. No, I'm always playing off of this. That's the G. I'm playing off of this open D here, which is the Aeolian node in the collection of notes around the key of F, which is the D. Okay. Okay, so then I end it off, and then I end that off with this end shape right here, which goes like that, this shape. So then I end it off right here. But then I want to switch between the minor and the major, which means I can then draw this third up into the gap, right? Because I'm doing the bluesy thing, switching from major to minor, drawing the third up, and then as I do that, I'm gonna reallocate this finger down here so I get the full bluesy, more bluesy shape. So I was thinking about that because now, like this shape is in the collection of notes over here, of the D mixolydian. So now I'm in the collection of notes of G major, which has a D mixolydian. So now I'm looking for node number 5, that mixolydian, and so now that node fits right there, right? So what I'm doing when I'm thinking about this kind of major minor bluesy thing is I'm going back and forth between these two shapes. I'm thinking minor shape, D minor shape, which is the collection of notes in this case around the key of F, looking at the Aeolian, which is the D minor, which is this shape. And I'm going, okay, that's where my home, that's what I'm thinking. But I know that this is a third right there, so I can smear it. And then when I end it off at this is the 1 minor third 5 shape here. And I can open up this finger to get the open E. Then I can swing this up to there, and now I've got the major 7 shape, which isn't really an Ionian shape, it's the D Mixolydian. So that fits in here, but not over here, see? So now I'm like thinking, now I'm kind of like in this shape. So the reason I was thinking about this is because then, like, if I was going to test my system, like, of writing down the chords, like if I was going to do the normal naming, I'm just trying to think through this to myself, like, because the bluesy thing and the jazzy thing is the thing that really kind of tests the system, because they're bouncing all over the place between different mental frames, but I'm still in a mental frame. It's just that I'm bouncing all over the place. So what if I was going to try to like write that down? There's a couple ways I can do it. Like if I was doing it like normally, what I would do is I wouldn't care, like you wouldn't even know which key I was in. I would just be like, oh, I'm just walking this back, and that's the note, that's, you know, this note, which is an A, and then I walk it back to a G, A to D, and then G to D, and then F to D, and then I'm going into this, what is a D minor chord right there. It's just a D minor. But that does, and then I'm going boom, and then now I've made it a D major chord. When I slide this up, I wouldn't care about the colors. I just say, but now I made it like a D major chord, and now boom, I moved this down, so now I made it basically a D7 chord, because now it's like a Mixolydian chord. So you see how that kind of switch, like that doesn't really tell you much about the context of the song, right? Because I was doing individual notes, which don't tell you if they're in key or not. And then I said I did a minor D, a D minor. So you're thinking, oh, that's all those notes were in D minor, so that makes sense. But then I did a D major, and you're like, oh, wow, D major, that doesn't seem to fit in what I thought the thing was if I didn't know like the whole bluesy thing. And then the D major is different than the D like Mixolydian, because the Mixolydian has a 7. So now I have to use a different chord construction, going from major to a D, just a D7 instead of a D major 7, right? So now you're thinking, oh, now he's in the full bluesy mode on that, because he did the major 7 thing. So, but so you would think, like if I did this in context, I was thinking, well, there's 2 ways I can do it in context. I could say, well, this is what I'm actually thinking. I'm thinking like individual notes. I'm thinking individual notes, looking at myself in the collection of notes around F major, thinking from the Ionian perspective, which in this case is D, so D minor or D Aeolian. Those are all clean D Aeolian. And then I'm going up here and I'm doing this D minor, boom, like that, which fits in the minor. And one way you could do it is say, well, now I'm switching my mind to think of myself in the collection of notes around G major, really focusing in on D, the Mixolydian node. So a collection of notes around D major focused on the D Mixolydian, because I'm gonna slide this one up to there, and that boom boom. Again, you could call that a D, just a D major, which would like kind of imply that it's the Ionian, right? But it's really not, because even though it's a triad that has the same 3 notes, whether I call it like an Ionian triad or a Mixolydian triad, I'm thinking of doing it from this node, which I'm thinking as the Mixolydian node now, in essence, right? Because I'm thinking of myself in the bluesy thing. And that becomes apparent when I move this down here, because now I have that tensiony minor 7. So now I have to say that it's going to be a minor, like a bluesy chord, and not an Ionian chord, which would be a major chord, but rather like a G7 chord instead of a G major 7. But again, it would be better if I just say, well, yeah, I'm building off of this note with a standard triad, which has a minor third, which has a major third now, versus a what would be a 4-note chord, but I'm dropping one of the notes, right? A 4-note chord, or a Mixolydian 3 modal whole step chord, meaning the last note in it, the third modal whole step, is 6 modal half steps, or the 7th scale degree, which is a minor distance rather than a major distance, as it would be with the Ionian. So that's one way I can do it. But so if I do that, then I'm going to be switching all the time, though, right? So now I'm like, oh wait, I was doing this. I was like, I'm thinking A minor, and then that was a minor. But now I got to switch over here. If I was doing the tablature, now I'm going to switch the key over here and the key signature to this. When I do that switch, and that becomes a pain, right? What's the other way I could do it? Well, I could just say, let me just play this whole thing from the perspective of whatever my dominant view is, right? So if I'm normally viewing like in minor, but then I switch to the major when I end, like I'm going, oh, I'm seeing it as minor, but then when I end it, I'm gonna slide up to the major by pushing that third up and then maybe adding, the 7, right? If that's the case, well then maybe I write the whole song from the perspective of this key, even though I'm jumping out of that key, but it'll be very clear if I write it from the perspective of this collection of notes. How would that work? Well, I could say, okay, this all makes sense from this perspective. I'm going to be like, it would go boom, right? And then this makes sense if I go up here, because that would be a D minor, so that would be an Aeolian chord, right? An Aeolian chord, that makes sense. But then when I slide this up, instead of switching the key signature in the song and say, look, I'm in the collection of notes around the G and I'm focusing in on the Mixolydian node, I'm just going to say, no, I'm going to keep it from this perspective, and I have this note that's outside. How might I name that? I'd still say, look, I'm focused on this as the root still. It's still the Aeolian as the root. So I would say it's a 3-note Aeolian chord, but it has a Mixolydian shape, right? So that's how I would like to name it, right? It's a Mixolydian chord. I'm building the chord off of this node. I see this node as the root, but I'm building on it a Mixolydian shape. It's a 3-note Aeolian nodal chord with a Mixolydian shape. Now you might say, well, no, it should be an Ionian shape. It's a major. That's a major shape. You could call it an Ionian shape too, but I want to. The Ionian 3-note shape and the Mixolydian 3-note shape are the same, and I'm kind of noodling between the idea that node number 6 is either the Aeolian node or the Mixolydian node. Those are my two kind of roots if I was going to jump back and forth. So notice I have the ability to say in this context, no, I want to call it the Mixolydian chord, because that'll be more consistent, as you'll be able to see when I move this node down, right? When I move this node down, well, that's obviously now that has to be a Mixolydian chord, like a G7 chord. So now I'd say, look, this is an A minor nodal chord with a 4-note Mixolydian chord, or a Mixolydian 3 modal whole step chord, meaning the last node in it is going to have the shape of 3 modal whole steps, 6 modal half steps, the 7th scale degree. Now, obviously, I'm dropping one of the 5th, right? I could pick up the 5th, but that's going to be the idea. So that means, see from that perspective, that means I can write the song from the perspective of one collection of notes, and then when I play something outside the collection of notes, I can still name the nodal point that I think is the center point, and I can indicate the shape of the chord that I want to build on it, which will give you the context of what's happening, right? I'm building off of the Aeolian node, but I'm building a Mixolydian chord. Well, that's going to tell you, well, that means he's clearly going to some kind of bluesy thing, right? He's going between major and minor blues. Does that make sense, Ara? Ara's probably processing. I was talking for a long time. Are you turned on, Ara? Ara's dead. That was too much. Okay. Whatever, dude. Well, the other way I could do it is I could say, The other way you can do it is I could say, well, look, I'm looking at myself from the perspective of the major, because if I'm in the bluesy thing, I often know the minor shape more. So I kind of like think of myself maybe in the minor shape, and then I always like kind of tweak up to the major by altering the third and adding the 7, right? But a lot of people might know, because it always seems like the bluesy thing kind of works if you go from the minor, smearing the minor from the minor 7 to the the minor third to the major third. So, but it doesn't work so much all the time if you're going from a major chord back to the minor and you're ending on that. You could do that, but it's like doesn't seem like that's the ending point. It always seems like it should end with the half step up, you know. So, but you might see yourself in the major 7. So again, I wouldn't call it D major. I would call it D mixolydian personally, because I feel like it's we're playing with the minor 7, so I feel like that would be the default. So then again, I could see these going boom, boom. So now when I do that, I kind of like doing the minor, like I can see myself here, but I'm like boom, boom, and then this is the major node, but I still kind of like going to the minor node. So again, I'm seeing myself kind of like I'm in the major, but then I'm hitting that minor third, which I could slide up. And then when I go up to the minor chord that I'm going to slide into the major, notice I have this node that's outside. So now I'm like, oh, minor chord, that's outside the perspective. What would I call that chord? Well, I'm looking at myself as the major node mixolydian. It's a mixolydian that I'm playing in. So I would call it's a mixolydian chord with a Aeolian shape, a minor shape, right? So I'd say it's a 3-note mixolydian nodal chord with an Aeolian shape to it, which means it's outside the key, right? Because it's not natural to the mixolydian to have an Aeolian shape. It's an Aeolian nodal point chord with it's a mixolydian nodal point chord with an Aeolian shape. But then when I move this up, I can move this up here and say, okay, now it's a 3-note mixolydian, which is equivalent to a 3-note Ionian, but in this shape, it's not, because that's node number 5. So now I'm in the node, and then clearly, from a shape standpoint, it's not any different from an Ionian or major, because it's a 3-note triad. But then when I reach down here, and I put this one down here, or possibly I can grab this one too, right, at the 5th as well. So something, Now I've got a 4-note mixolydian, meaning I've added the last nodal point, 3 modal whole steps up, 6 modal half steps, 7th scale degree. So you see, I mean, to me, that is a lot more, that gives you a lot more context of the song, right? It gives you a lot more context of the song than to just be like, oh, it's just a blank fretboard and I'm just playing. So you have to figure it out by just this. You have to figure everything out by going, oh, I'm going back from the A, and then D, and then G, and then D, and then F, and then D, and then I play this D minor chord, and then I do play a D major chord, and then I play a D, and then I play a D7 chord. And you're like, what the heck is that? Obviously, if you know the bluesy kind of progression, you're going to go, okay, I get that, but you shouldn't need that. You should be able to see if the stuff that's in the key or outside of the key by the way you wrote it. It should be clear. It should be clear. So that's like I'm kind of thinking if you did some fancy jazzy stuff, you might argue. I'm trying to think about what people would argue against like a system like this. They would say, well, look, if you did a fancy jazzy thing and you're jumping all over the place from different modal perspectives and different collections of notes, then it's not going to work because you'll have to change the perspective all the time. But I think you could. You could do either way. You could change the perspective all the time as you change through different collections of notes, you don't have to change the perspective when you change nodal perspective. Like if I go from the Aeolian, when I go from the Aeolian to the Mixolydian in the same collection of notes, I don't need to change the perspective really, right? It's all the same collection of notes. But if I go to different collections of notes, then you have the question of, should I stay in the same collection and then represent the chords that I'm building by telling them the nodal point that I'm focused on and by shape, or should I be bouncing back and forth between different collections of notes? And I kind of feel like that depends on the player, right? The player is going to be like, are you the type of player that's like, look, I'm thinking of this as an outline of the pentatonic scale, which is basically the collection of notes of the F, and I'm playing on the Aeolian, and then I'm kind of bending over to the minor or to the major. So I'm clearly seeing myself from one perspective that I'm altering. Well, then you're gonna want the option of writing all your music from the perspective of one collection of notes, which you're tweaking as you're building notes that are outside the collection. Or you might be the type of person that's saying, look, I'm doing this Aeolian thing, I'm doing this collection of notes in D Aeolian, collection of notes of F major around the Aeolian node, and then I'm totally switching in my mind every time to go to this collection of notes of G that has the Mixolydian node. If that's how I'm viewing it in my mind, then it would be nice if I had a way to write it down that I could do it that way, right? I could say every time I switch it in my mind, I'm like, okay, now I have a different key signature. I'm in this collection of notes, and now I'm focused in on the Mixolydian node, as opposed to, no, I'm always looking at this collection of notes. I'm always focused on the Aeolian node, but sometimes I give that Aeolian node a Mixolydian shape, right? I don't know. I wish Ara didn't die over here. I think I would. Ara, what do you think? She's thinking. Okay, hold on. She's talking, but I can't hear you, Ara. I can't hear you. Okay, hold on. She's talking. I told her I can't hear her. And she's saying she's sorry. Sorry's not good enough. Sorry's not good enough. Okay, hold on. I'm going to try to restart you, Ara. That's okay. It's raining outside. Maybe it's a technical difficulty. So we'll try to restart it. Or refresh it. Okay. Okay. And then retry. I'd really appreciate your feedback, Ara. What do you think, Ara? She hears me loud and clear. I can't hear you. Is it my audio? Testing. I can't hear you, Ara. Testing, testing, testing. The headphones are off. I don't know what's happening here. I can hear the headphones. Is my audio working? Tell me if my audio is not working, people. Or Nika, does my audio work? She says she can hear me, but I can't hear her. Alright, we'll have to do it without Ara again. That's tragic. But maybe I'll read the feedback later and see if it makes sense. Okay. Whatever, dude. Whatever. Hopefully my audio's working. It works there. Okay, anyway. Let's try a joke. That wasn't much of a warm-up. I'm going to try a joke here. And so I'm on this whole capitalism versus communism rant these days. So, because the communism thing seems to be on the rise. I've seen it before. So I'll continue the rant. Let's see. So, okay, I finally figured out. By the way, obviously I make these songs kind of like quickly. So I make the script, I make my outline, and then I outline it with the ChatGPT outlines it, and then I make the images. So I don't really check the images completely very well, right? I just kind of put them together, and I haven't even listened to the songs. So like yesterday's song got a little bit of a weird sound to it at the end of it there, which made me a little bit uncomfortable because I don't know. I was like, it's kind of some, but it was about, even though it was about capitalism in New York City, so in any case, it is what it is. I'm just cranking them out. I tried to make the song this time like not a country song. I just let Suno do whatever. I told Chat, just make a song that's like a rock song, and then I gave it to Suno, and so whatever it gives me, it's like these are my first reactions to it as well, okay? I didn't think over the lyrics for an extended period of time. So anyway, bear with me, give me some slack here. We're gonna say, so I think I finally figured out why it's so hard to sell capitalism these days. Why everyone keeps sprinting towards the communism like it's a Black Friday sale on free misery. So it's the phrase capitalists keep saying, you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I think that phrase is pissing people off, and I get it. You need to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. What does that even mean, bootstraps? Do you mean like the shoelaces for people who own so you're gonna pull yourself up by the shoelaces? And it's like, have you ever tried pulling yourself up by your shoelaces? I mean, the only thing you're gonna lift is your foot and your dignity possibly, but only about 3 inches. About 3 inches. And whatever you do, don't try it while standing, because the second you yank upward, Newton's third law kicks in, your foot goes up, and your butt hits the ground so hard Isaac Newton sneezes in his grave. Honestly. With how many people keep repeating this phrase, I'm shocked nobody's sued over a fractured hip at this point, This is America. We sue over everything. No one's picked up on this shoelace nonsense and tried to make some cash out of it. So maybe the saying should be, pull yourself up by your brain. Pull yourself up by your brain. But that's asking a lot these days, like a lot. I'm not sure that's going to do it. How about this? Maybe the modern saying should be, pull yourself up by your AI. Pull yourself up by your AI. Yeah, I'll just grab my AI, grip it tight, and attempt the saddest chin-up known to humanity. Not a muscle-up, not even close. More like a hope the GPU doesn't snap off the rack kind of pull-up. Best case scenario, I rise slightly, but evenly, rather than just my foot at the cost of my butt. Worst case, the AI doesn't hold and I get crushed by a cascade of collapsing servers like a biblical plague of Dell towers. So at this point, it's about 50-50 odds. 50-50 odds I get it, that I give it, uplift or server avalanche. That's what we have. You try to pull up by the AI, you got about 50-50 odds here. The whole economy, it seems to me, of either we get uplifted or we have a server avalanche and we all get crushed by servers. So you're going to place your bets. Place your bets. Anyways, I wrote a song about it. And again, Suno wrote the song. I haven't even listened to it. This is his first reaction. This is the first reaction for me. All right, let's see what we got this time. What'd they give us?
I think I finally figured out why it's so hard to sell capitalism. Why everybody keeps sprinting toward communism. Like it's Black Friday on free misery. Yeah, lining up for pain like it's half-price history. It's the phrasing, man, they keep shouting that old cliche. You gotta pull yourself up by your bootstraps, they say. Bootstrap shoelaces for the folks with fancier shoes. No wonder half the country's got the economic blues. Have you ever tried pulling up by your shoelaces? You lift your foot, your pride, and a whole lot of stupid faces. And if you try to stand in, you'll meet Newton's law of fate. Your butt hits the ground so hard, Isaac sneezes from the grave. And I'm shocked nobody's sued for a fractured hip over all this bootstrap talk they love to spit. Maybe the phrase should be pulled up by your brain, but that's asking too much in this modern day strain. So maybe we upgrade it, pull yourself up by your AI. Yeah, grab that glowing cube and give a digital try. I'm holding on tight for the saddest chin up ever seen. A GPU creaking like a rusted out machine. Best case, I rise smooth, not just 1 foot in the air. Worst case, a server avalanche buries me right there. A biblical flood of Dell towers pouring down as I make my final stand in this high-tech battleground. At this point, it's 50-50, man, uplifter avalanche. Will the AI hold steady or collapse in a crash? Am I rising like an anthem or falling like regret? Hit the lights, it's time to place your bets. Yeah, place your bets. Will I climb or will I wreck? Will I soar on silicone wings or get crushed by the tech? Place your bets. Is it freedom or a fall? Rock and roll roulette for the future of us all. Place your bets. Place your bets. Your bets. Let the server shake and the amps break.
Alright. It's going back to what we got here. Aura! Aura can't talk. Aura's got a cold or something. She lost her voice. Aura lost her voice. Oh, it's okay. Just I'll get her some ginger ale. And she'll be back it'll be okay. She'll be back tomorrow. Okay. So let's go back on over here. I was on collection of notes around the key of C. I'm building off of this node here, which is the Mixolydian node. So it's a G in this case, rock and roll shape. If I put my finger on the C to A, so A to C, minor, major. So I'm up on this nodal point. So that would be my D shape like this, but I'm looking at it as a lean back shape as the starting point, because I'm going to say that this is going to be a minor, this is going to be the major third, which has a normal distance of 1 modal half steps, 2 modal whole steps, which is the third scale degree. And then I was like, okay. So then, and then the fifth was back here with the normal D shape, like that. But then we added the this one, the 7th, which is the 3rd modal whole step, 6th modal half step, 7th scale degree, which was 11 notes away. And I also have that one up top here, so I could try to grab this one, and I'd twist in my wrist to grab that one so that I can play it this with this hand this way. And the reason I do that is because I can kind of grab another 3rd up here. And I can walk this one back like this. So that's where we left off last time, and I have this on all of the shapes that we added the 7 to. So if I redo this, we have this goes boom, boom, and then here. So once this is the collection of notes around the key of D. So we go from D major back to here, which would be, wait a sec, yeah. Back to here, okay, and that gives me an A mixolydian. All right, I see what I'm writing there. So back to here, rock and roll shape. So here it is. Here's that top D triangle up top, where I could then go, okay. Grab this one this way. Why is that weird? Anyway, I can go up here, and this is going to be the collection of notes of F. So F, back to here. So if I played it up in this position up top, be here. But if I was in open position, then this would be back here. And then I'm reaching up to this one, and I have the open node there. And then we have this one, collection of notes around G, G major, back to E, so there's my D shape here. So that would be here. This is my position number 1. Here's my shape. And now I'm going boom, boom here. And All right. That I didn't get to warm up, so I had to do that. Okay, so then this one is the collection of notes of A sharp going back. This is the rock and roll shit. D's up top, and then I can reach up. I don't know, my head is already going here. Let's try another. Let's try we add the 9. So the 9 is equivalent to the 2. So we're going to say that if I was to add the 9 like here, just onto this triad, then it would be a normally a D minor 9, but I'd rather call it a 4-note mixolydian. I mean, sorry, it'd be a D major 9. I'd rather call it a 4-note mixolydian or a mixolydian 3-modal whole step because it takes 3 modal whole steps to get to the last nodal point, which is 6 modal half steps or the 7th scale degree. So it's going to be, so that would be then, right, so that would be 3 modal whole steps wait, it would be adding the 9, which is equivalent to the 4. It would be 4 modal whole steps, which would be 8 modal half steps, which would be the 9th. So 8 modal half steps up from the Mixolydian node, but 8 is greater than 7, so I could say 8 minus 7 is 1, plus the mode that I'm on, which is the Mixolydian, which would be 0.6. So it would be an Aeolian node. And that should have a distance away of a local distance of 2 notes away, because the 9 is equivalent to the second, which has a 2 note away distance from all of the nodal points except for the 2 at the back of the house, which is going to be the Locrian nodal point 7 and the Phrygian 3 nodal points. So if I just add those, now I could try to add those and the 7 if I wanted to, so I could do that. So I would like to call that chord a Mixolydian 4 modal whole step chord with if I didn't put this up top, it would be the 4th inversion, because that would be the lowest note in the chord, and I would have dropped the 3rd or minus the 3 modal whole step up note, meaning the 6 modal half step or 7th scale degree. If I add that one, then it would be a Mixolydian 4 modal whole step chord with a 3rd inversion, because we're making the lowest note is the 3rd modal whole step up, which is the 6th modal half step or 7th scale degree. All right, can I even grab that? I'm in the collection of notes around the key of C. There's the C. Here's my rock and roll shape. Okay, so it would be up here. So now I'm going, could I grab it like that? Or I could bar this whole thing off like this, and then grab these two like that. All right, that's how you would do it. That'd be the easiest way. It's hard to get that bar all the way down as I grab in front of it, though. It's kind of hard to grab that nodal point 4 on top. I can easily grab this bar. Maybe it's actually easiest to grab with the pinky. That's kind of interesting, because I can get all those in there and not really mess up. There's not too much clashing, really, because, well, there's a 7 in the 4, so there is a tritone in there. So that is a clashy bit right there. If I drop that nodal point number 4, the 7th, then no clash. So what if I go to this collection of notes around the D? So here's the D, I put my pinky on it, back to the B, rock and roll shape. And there it is. So then I'm gonna say I have that, and then I could bar up here, so I can bar this one up top. And is that the shape I was doing? Oh, I want the 6. I did this collection of notes around an F, so I could get the F up here, pinky on the F, back to here, brings me back to a D minor, to F major, D minor. So I could do it up here past the fret, but if I grab that bit down here, then I would be on this nodal point. And so now I'm going, okay, that's pretty easy to bar off then. I can grab those two, basically what I was doing, and this one is already there. So then I can just go, all I need to do is grab these, right back here, on the fret 1. It's kind of hard to visualize in that open position sometimes for me. Now wait a second, I need here and there. I'm not sure that's totally right, but my head is going, so I'm gonna move on. This one, let's just try to grab, I'm just gonna try to do it in the key of C because I want to get off this shape next time. So let's try to say that we're gonna go from the back to the key of C, pinky here. So standard shape is this again. I'm gonna add the 11. The 11 is equivalent to the 4. So if I was gonna add the 4 onto this node, which is a G, it would be a G major 11. I'd rather call it a 5-note mixolydian, or a mixolydian. I'd rather call it a 6-note mixolydian, or a mixolydian 5-modal whole step, because 5 modal whole steps times 2 would be 6 modal half steps, plus 1 would be the 11th scale degree. So that's what I'd rather call it. So 5. So the distance to the last note is going to be 5 modal whole steps, which would be 10 modal half steps. 10 is over 7 because it's going to be an octave up. So the local distance I can get by saying 10 minus 7 is 3. So it's 3 modal half steps up, which from nodal point 5 would be 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is greater than 7. 8 minus 7 is 1. So we're looking for the ionian. So I have one up top. I could grab that. So if I grabbed all of those, which I'm not sure is possible under the normal naming convention, it would be under the normal naming convention, it would be a G major 11. But again, I'd rather call it a 6-note. Well, it'd be a G major 11, and then slash the lowest note in the chord is that one, which is a C. But I'd rather call it a 6-note mixolydian, or a mixolydian 5 modal whole step chord with a with a 5th inversion, meaning you're going to invert the note that's 5 modal whole steps up which is nodal point number 1. I think that's right. All right, whatever. Be nice if I could check it, if Ara was here to check it. It's okay. So I can grab these two on top. I can bar that whole thing. Is that possible? I can bar this whole thing. Grab those two on top. No, that's not possible. I could drop, I mean, it's pretty, maybe it's possible. I don't know. But what if I drop like this one? And then I do that. It's hard to bar that whole thing. Because now I'm going to get that 3 in there, but I can mute it. pick is Gracie. All right. I'm gonna have the last one. That 13. If I add the 13, the 13 is going to be equivalent to the 6. So if I add the 13 to this node, then you would think normal naming convention would be a D major, or sorry, I keep on saying major. It should be just a D13 because I'm off the Mixolydian node if I'm adding the 7, unless I drop the 7, which I've been doing. So I think I've been messing up that name the whole time, but it should be. I'm a little tired today. This would be a D13, but I'd rather call it a 6-note Mixolydian or Mixolydian 5-modal whole step because it's 5 modal whole steps to the last. No, 5 modal whole steps to the last node, 10 modal half steps, which would be the 11th. No, it's 6. 6 modal whole steps, which would be 12 modal half steps, which would be the 13th scale degree. 6 modal whole steps would be 12 modal half steps, which would be an octave up. 12 minus 7, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is 5 for the local distance. So 5 modal points up from 5 would be 10, which is over 7. So 7 minus 10 is 3. So I'm looking for finally the Phrygian. So that would be that one, I believe. So this collection of notes. So it'd be grabbing this whole bad doggy all the way to the top, barring it. But I want to grab that 1. So I've got everything, but I'm dropping the 7, which is kind of weird. Is that right? Dropping the 7. It's kind of hard to grab the root like this. Yeah, who knows? Whatever. Next time I'm going up. I'm moving on next time. I'm moving on. What am I moving on? I don't know. The ether, the Planck constant field. Who knows, man? I'm moving on stuff.